Hey everyone, welcome to another review, and here's my review for the movie The Gift. Yes, The Gift came out last week, and I couldn't see it, but I finally saw it this week, and before I get to my review, I'm going to give a brief synopsis about this movie. This movie, The Gift, stars Jason Bateman, Joel Edgerton, and Rebecca Hall, and is written and directed by Joel Edgerton himself, yes, making his directorial debut with this movie. The story of this movie is about a couple played by Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall, and basically they move into this new, rich suburbia area. Basically, Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall are at a store one day, and Jason Bateman runs into an old friend of his. Yes, an old friend named Gordo, played by Joel Edgerton himself. And Jason Bateman at first doesn't recognize him, but then he realizes it's an old friend of his, and it's technically not a friend, an old acquaintance of his from high school. So he invites him over for dinner one night, and basically it's a little heated, and basically after that night, Joel Edgerton every day sends them a gift at their door, and he always like shows up, and basically he's almost like creeping them and stalking them. Yes, it's one of those movies. It's one of those creepy stalker kind of movies. And I know what you're thinking. I know you're probably thinking, oh god, another one of these stupid movies. We already had one of these at the beginning of this year with The Boy Next Door. Yes, fuck that movie. But this movie was incredible. So fucking good. This movie was amazing. I loved this movie, The Gift. It was so good. Like, from the trailers, I saw the trailers for this movie, I'm like, oh my god, this looks like this typical, predictable, cliche, you know, serial killer or creepy stalker kind of movie. I've seen this done to death. But this movie is going to suck. And then I started hearing the positive reviews. That's why I didn't see this movie last week, because I wanted to see some of the reviews first, because it looked so stupid, this movie. But I read a lot of positive reviews, and I'm like, okay, let's check this movie out. I checked it out, and I was blown away by this movie. This movie is phenomenal. I loved this movie. Yes, this movie, The Gift, is one of my favorite movies of the year. It's brilliant, just brilliant. I'm not going to go into spoilers, because I only told you basically like the first act of the movie. Like, there's a lot more depths to this movie, and a lot of shit happens, but I don't want to spoil this movie. I will never dare spoil this movie, but it's fantastic. It's so freaking good. The themes in this movie and the things they talk about in this movie are just so realistic. I'll give you a little hint. Like, they deal with a lot of, like, bully issues and stuff, and, like, you know, abuse and everything. And even, like, a little bit of homosexuality, and just, like, basically the point of the story is, like, karma will get you back in life. Like, when you do something really bad to someone, something bad's gonna happen to you right back. And, like, this movie's a lot about karma and stuff, and getting almost a little bit, like, revenge, but it's not like a revenge movie. It's basically karma hitting back. And, yeah, this movie is a little unpleasant. It's a little disturbing. Like, it's not violent or anything. There's not, like, any ounce of violence in this movie. Like, it's only, like, 14A, rated R, just for the coarse language, but this movie is disturbing because of psychological warfare. Like, the psychological torture, like, Joel Edgerton puts Jason Bateman in this movie. But when you find out the reasons why he's doing it, you're like, oh my god, like, this movie is brutal and it really gets to you, and I fucking loved it. It was so freaking good. Like, you find a lot of twists in this movie that were really good and very, very clever and beautifully executed. And, like, I thought I could predict this movie. Like, I think the second act of the movie, I'm like, I know where this movie's going. But then it takes, like, a turn, and I'm like, huh. And I did not see that ending coming. I will not spoil the ending, but the ending to this movie, brilliant. Just brilliant. And the performances in this movie, all top-notch performances. Rebecca Hall I find her kind of more like the lead character, because she's going through all, it's like Jason Bateman's going through all this mess with her, but she's really dealing with it. She's getting, like, the psychological damage done to her. Like, Jason Bateman's, like, really ruining his life, but he kind of, like, just deals with it. She doesn't. Like, she's getting panic attacks. She's, like, doing, like, drugs, and, like, she's almost having a baby, and, like, a lot of shit she goes through, and, like, I find her more the lead character, and Rebecca Hall, as always, was great. She's a great actress, and she was so good in this movie. Also, Jason Bateman. Like, Jason Bateman, I always know him as, like, a comedy actor. He always does, like, all these comedy movies, and I've never found him a top-notch actor, but I liked Jason Bateman, but he was phenomenal. So good in this movie. His performance was really, really good, and I don't want to say if he's likable or unlikable, because I think that'd give away the movie, but whatever he is, like, when you'll see what he is in this movie, he does it good. He plays his character really well. And, you know, who else plays his character really well? Joel Edgerton. Joel Edgerton is like this weird, creepy guy, but he's a very sympathetic, creepy guy. You know, find out why. Joel Edgerton just played him so freaking well. And then, like, yeah, Joel Edgerton gets a lot of credit for this movie, because he wrote and directed this movie, too, and he wrote it so well. Like, the themes he wrote in this movie, in the content they talk about in this movie, It's just so good, so gritty, and so realistic, and it's just so human. And like a lot of movies, like I've seen a lot of movies sort of like this, but the way this movie does it makes it so original and so clever. He wrote this movie amazingly well, and he directed it so well too. Like, he's an amazing director. I hope he does more writing and directing, because he did a fantastic job. It was so freaking good. I was blown away by this movie. I loved it. The cinematography was also really, really well done. Good shots in this movie, plus the editing, top-notch editing in this movie. And like, it was just beautifully handled, this movie. It was amazing. Just so freaking good. And I have a feeling this movie is going to be like another Prisoners. Like, it's not like, I can't really compare it to Prisoners because they're sort of different films. They're both dark, edgy films, but this movie's a little different. But the reason I'm saying it's going to be a lot like Prisoners, because Prisoners was my second favorite movie of 2013, and not a lot of people saw it, and that movie didn't get like any Oscar nominations. It got cinematography, but it didn't get any like really big Oscar nominations, and it didn't get any Golden Globes. And not a lot of people talk about Prisoners. And I think the movie The Gift is going to be the same. It's going to be like this very underrated film that's going to get no Oscar nominations. And I don't get it, because everybody in this movie gave Oscar-worthy performances. I loved them in this movie. Another thing I loved about this movie, there wasn't much of a score. It let the cinematography, good editing, good direction, and the fantastic acting to create the thrills, to create the drama, to create the tension. And that right there is amazing direction. Give a huge props to Joel Edgerton for that, because he did a bang-up job with this movie. This movie was fantastic. It was dark, it was dramatic, it was thrilling. You didn't know what was going to happen. And the stuff they talk about in this movie is so realistic and so powerful. I was blown away by this movie, and I loved this movie, and I highly, highly recommend people should see this movie. Check it out. It's fantastic. Scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give the movie The Gift a 10 out of 10. Yes, I don't know what movie I like more, Ex Machina or The Gift. They're like a tie. I don't know what my favorite is. Only time will tell to see which movie is my number one, but The Gift, amazing. So in the comment section below, please tell me, what is your favorite Joel Edgerton and Jason Bateman movie? The reason I'm saying both of them is because not a lot of them have a lot of great movies, and they don't have a huge filmography. So what is your favorite Joel Edgerton and Jason Bateman movie? Comment below, let me know. My favorite is this movie, The Gift. This is the best Jason Bateman movie, and this is the best Joel Edgerton movie, The Gift. But what is your favorite out of those two guys? Comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel, and join the dark side.